We needed that. Manchester City have just beat Sheffield United 2-0, and that was really reassuring. It was not a memorable game of football by any stretch of the imagination. It's the kind of game of football that you try and recall the details of like 3 or 4 seasons from now, and you can't remember because it just blends into a whole mess of games, and you think, oh, who scored that? Because I can't remember. But then eventually you remember, and you go, oh yeah, that was a non-eventful, kind of uninspiring game of football. But sometimes you just need to win them, and it shows against the fine margins of football in general. If we'd somehow managed to hold on to the lead against Wolves, we would have looked at 4 wins in a row against Arsenal, Leicester, Wolves and Sheffield United. It shows how fine the margins are. That's 3 wins out of 4 against genuinely pretty good teams, you know. I know Arsenal aren't what they once were, but, you know, they're still Arsenal. It's still away from home. And Leicester is Leicester. Wolves are a good team if we'd managed to get something from them. And Sheffield United have been one of the surprise teams of the season so far. And that's their first loss away from home in 2019 across 2 leagues there. But it shows that football is... It's like that. Sometimes it's like that. I don't think today we were that good, really. I thought maybe we played a little bit better at times with 10 men against Wolves, which is kind of a funny old game. And maybe Guardiola will say something very similar. But we just about got through. We just about did enough to win, with a little bit of luck, if we're being totally honest. But you can only really credit the team for kind of pushing on and trying. And this time of season is very, very hard. You've got to bear in mind the players are definitely tired, like 48 hours between games. So their recovery started and coincided with their preparations for the next game immediately. There's no recovery time. There's no time to do anything other than go home and rest, then just get ready, probably on the coach on the way to the game. Well, I mean, not on the coach, in the car on the way to the ground, basically. It's very tough to be anywhere near your best, especially given the nature of how we lost against Wolves as well. That was a demoralising game of football for many reasons, and it was very easy for the players to have their heads down and start in the way that they did, if we're being honest. And they did start lethargically. Sheffield United were probably the better team in that first half. They had a goal disallowed, which is one of those where you're like... That was probably actually maybe onside. It's very hard to see. I only saw one replay on a blurry stream. Wasn't at the game today. And it was hard to tell whether it was actually offside or not. All I know is that if that was against Manchester City, I'd be a little bit annoyed by that. Probably slightly more offside than some of the ones we saw yesterday. But once again, fine margins and a little bit lucky. And Sheffield United in the first half were probably the better team as well. Mousset had a couple of chances ahead of him. And I think he got him behind as well at one point when he was nobly faster than Eric Garcia. No shame in that because he's just not fast, I guess. And Mousset is a nippy little player. But we could have got him behind. And that would have been a very fair reflection as well of that first half of football. It was poor. It wasn't shocking like some people said online. I don't think it was shocking at all. Shocking is playing someone near the bottom like your Brighton or something like that and being 2 or 3-0 down at half time. That's shocking. This was just uninspiring. This was just poor. It was just dull. It was just like, it was understandable given the context, but it was just one of those performances where you wanted to see City react post Wolves, but I guess for whatever reason they didn't have it in the locker. I've got to give credit to Guardiola because he did change it at half time. The system seemed to have suited us. We started off with a few surprises. Zinchenko was in at left back. I guess that was given the fact that Mendy was never going to play 2 games in a row, especially not given his mistake as well. But I don't think that was really a factor. I think if we hadn't played 2 games in 2 days, I think Guardiola would have started Mendy there, but 2 days in 3 days, 2 games, 2 days apart, you know what I mean, in theory. But I think that was an obvious kind of change, really. But the big surprise was Eric Garcia in for Mendy, his first full Premier League start for the 18-year-old centre-back. A big show of faith for Guardiola, I guess. He could have easily played Rodri there, which we'll get onto a bit because he kind of did in the end. But he could have easily done that, but he didn't. He went for Garcia. And I guess he's shown in training recently how much Guardiola actually rates him. And he got the nod there alongside Fernandinho with Walker over at right back and Zinchenko, of course, completing the back 4. Midfield was Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne. Then we had Mahrez, Aguero and Raheem Sterling. It wasn't working. Sheffield United were finding plenty of encouragement down the channels, getting behind us quite easily. And we conceded possession a little bit too weakly. At half-time, we basically went like a 3 at the back and we put Zinchenko and Walker a lot wider and Rodri dropped in the midfield. It went more of a 3-4-3 or 3-5 or 3-2-4-1 kind of thing, something like that. It was a little bit kind of all over the place, but it seemed to work and we immediately looked a lot more comfortable down the channels, which is one of the areas that Sheffield United have a lot of joy in general. And we just kind of controlled the midfield a lot better. It worked. Fair play. Our first goal was fortunate. Now, I saw a lot of confusion about whether this goal should have stood, and I wasn't sure myself, and being totally honest, but finally it kind of got to the bottom of the rules. Now, the referee did get involved, and we got very lucky, and the ball kind of fell to Kevin De Bruyne, which is probably the exact player Sheffield United didn't want the ball to fall to. And of course, he picked out a pinpoint pass to Aguero, who did that very Aguero thing where he rocketed into the top corner from an angle. It's just the most Aguero finish from the most Kevin De Bruyne kind of passes. And a lot of people said, should it have stood? Well, morally, no. Legally, yes. Though it didn't touch the referee's foot. The commentators confirmed that. I've seen replays suggest it didn't at all either. In general, the ref's not meant to blow up if he just kind of gets in the way of general play. It's only if it hits the referee, that's when the play is meant to stop and it's meant to be a drop ball. But in this case, it's just a bit annoying. And I feel sorry for any Sheffield United fans watching this because I would be incredibly frustrated as well. But it's one of those shit happens kind of thing. Like when the ball hit the... Do you remember years ago when the ball hit the kind of beach ball on the pitch? It's not illegal. You know, one of those things where it's not illegal. And I've seen referees run into players for like 30 years of watching football now, and I'm sure you've all seen the very similar things. It's frustrating, but it's not actually an infringement, unfortunately. So the ref, annoyingly, for Sheffield United fans, not so for Manchester City fans, he did the right thing in carrying on play. I couldn't understand their frustration though, and I would have been livid, especially given the VAR goal in the first half. But that happened. City made the most of the fortune. It was a great finish from Aguero. And Kevin De Bruyne continues to chase down Thierry Henry's assist record. I think he's on 12 now and he's got 20 to match. So he's got 8 more to get. In how many games is it now? Let's have a look. I can't remember how many games we've got left. We've got 18 games. He needs to get 18 games. And you'd bet, given the form that he's in, that he's going to do that. Fingers crossed. And of course, it was another goal for Kevin De Bruyne as well. A wonderful counter-attack. Mahrez did well to beat his man. He found Kevin De Bruyne, who stepped inside and disguised his shot into the near post. And it was a good finish for the best player on the pitch, in my opinion. Probably supported by the second best player on the pitch, in Mahrez. De Bruyne is on that kind of hot streak at the moment where he just finds a way to influence games. He scores goals. I think it's 5 in his last 8. He creates goals, loads of assists. And he's fantastic. And once again, he was the difference maker today. It was a decent performance. It was a much needed performance. It wasn't a classic, but now I find myself looking to the table, and this is where we're at in the league now, just looking for between the distance between Manchester City and whoever's in 5th, and it's United at the moment, and it's 10 points, which is good, because we're not going to catch Liverpool because they are 14 points clear of us, I think with a game in hand or something like that. I don't know if that's right, something like that. Either way, we're not catching them. I just want to make sure City qualify for the Champions League, which is crazy that I'm saying that, but that's where we are this season. And I've accepted that now, and we probably should all accept it, really. It is just what it is. As long as we keep winning games every now and then, and then we can focus on the domestic trophies and the Champions League, of course, that's where we're at. And this is a chance for our players to kind of get some wins, get some confidence on the board. But it's funny, isn't it, how we could have had 4 very big wins in a row if we had a little bit of luck, but that's football. Individually, Bravo in goal. I'm very critical of Bravo. You know, I just don't think he's a very good player. Not that it's his fault, but I just don't think he's very good. But he had very little to do, so he was fine. He was totally fine. His distribution was good. I can't criticise him there, and he was just fine. He was just there. Kyle Walker, he isn't really effective when we go kind of took a 3-4-3. He's not a natural wing back really. Well, he isn't these days anyway. He used to have a bit of an attacking instinct when he was at Spurs, but he's not had that for a long time because he plays a lot more kind of cautiously for Guardiola's team because that's how he's meant to play there. And so he was okay. He was fine. Fernandinho, decent as well, pretty solid. Garcia, once again, solid, good. You know, you would never know he was an 18-year-old lad making his first start in the Premier League because he looked totally at home. There was one moment in particular in the second half when he was telling Rodri where to go, which made me feel really, really reassured because he's got that confidence in his own ability and he's a natural leader, clearly. Very much a pointer, a talker. And sometimes you need that in a defence. And it's good to see that Garcia looked so at home. He's clearly ready for regular minutes now as a squad member. The only thing that's shame about Garcia is that he's not particularly fast or tall or strong. He had a little bit more athleticism. He'd be a starter guaranteed every single week. That's the only question mark. Fingers crossed he can get a little bit more aggressive and maybe get a little bit bigger as he gets older because they're the only question marks. Other than that, he reads the game so well. It's just nice to see a defender that isn't headless and isn't brainless because we have far too many of them in our team at the moment. It's nice to see a guy who's just a cool, steady head, and obviously Guardiola rates him, and he justified the inclusion today. Rodri did all right in the second half when he dropped a little bit deeper. It helped City control the game. It was a decent performance in general. De Bruyne, not like anywhere near his best, but just clinical, just very clinical. Bernardo, I don't think Bernardo really, he had a decent game, he had an okay game. One thing Bernardo doesn't offer, and I do agree with some people who have said this, he doesn't offer what David Silva offers when he plays centrally. Bernardo at his best is more industrious, more individualist in terms of he can beat people, but what he doesn't bring to the team is that same ability to control the ball and dictate possession the way that David Silva does. So if we're going to have Bernardo Silva centrally for a long time at any point, we're just not going to be the same kind of Manchester City that we've seen control games in that same way, because he doesn't operate between the channels anywhere near as well. He doesn't link up with the wingers anywhere near as well. I'm not saying he's not brilliant, he is clearly, but he's very different to David Silva, and he's not a like-for-like replacement at all. So we do concede a little bit of creativity and a little bit of intelligence between the lines, because he's not played there much in his career. He has never played as a left-sided number 8. He's very much always been kind of an inverted right winger. Occasionally he's played a little bit more central, but never what he's done at Manchester City so far. So he's got a lot of time to learn it, but it's no interesting to know he isn't a direct solution. I don't think he is. So we'll have to see over time. Of course, he could get better at that, and of course, he could be moulded into that as well. Sterling continues to be very ineffectual. He's clearly running empty. He didn't do much today of note. I think he needs to rest, and you do know that we all know that if Sane was fit and running, he would be on the bench every now and then, and he'd be getting rest because he did last season. But as it is, I think Guardiola sees it that he has to start him, which is a bit of a shame because I think his performances are getting weaker and weaker, but it is what it is. Aguero didn't really do much in that first half at all. Didn't really do much throughout the game other than that one moment of brilliance for the finish, which is very, very Aguero. Just a great natural finisher. And Mahrez had a decent game. Not effective in the first half. Second half, he was picking up passes in the middle. He was creating things, and it was a good performance as a more of a number 10. More creative, basically, off the striker, and it worked for him. Overall, it was a good little game. It was a decent game. First half, not so good. Second half, acceptable. Especially given the context, once again, of the players being tired at this time of year. Morale maybe not being at the best against a team that hasn't lost away from home all calendar year. So we've inflicted Sheffield United's first away defeat right at the end of December. Sorry about that, Sheffield United. And they must feel hard done by a bit today, and understandably. We got a bit of luck today, I reckon, in general. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain at all. Guys, what did you make of that game? What's your take on the season in general at the moment? It's a weird one because we've got nothing to fight for in the league other than just our own sanity. So we just kind of have to plod along a little bit. And it's kind of weird that because it's hard to get up for the competition. But it is interesting when we see a few little kind of experiments like Garcia playing. We see the change of formation. And it's good to see Pep actually make an impact on the team with what he changed in the second half, because I don't think anyone's been making great decisions recently. And it's nice to see that. If you are new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, of course. And I'll be back for a video tomorrow talking about the game in a little bit more detail. For now, like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you soon. Have a lovely evening.